is overcome by doing what we fear to do. Action defeats fear, but you've got to start it yourself. It won't happen on its own. The action you take doesn't even have to be perfect. It will begin to feed itself the power it needs to continue. Like starting a car by pushing it, you start it by starting it. Courage has a second wind. Once into it, you'll get more into it. Too much fearful worry prior to the action is the only thing that can stop this process. When you were a child, you did this a lot. You put your fear in your back pocket and jumped. Remember? At one point, you just pushed off on that bike. At one point, you just jumped off the high board into the deep end of the water. Somehow, as grown-ups, we have talked ourselves into assuming that we can't do anything we're afraid of doing, that being afraid to do it is the same as being unable to do it. But a little practice at just doing it shows us that this was a false assumption. Action generates courage, not the other way around. Go off by yourself somewhere and sit down with a notebook. Write down 10 things you would do in your life if you had absolutely no fear, then pick one of them to do. The thing you've picked to do might make you afraid just thinking about it, but that's okay. Take a moment to realize that all courageous people have fear. They just do things anyway, hollering with a combination of joy and fear, like Butch and Sundance jumping off the high cliff into the water below. You will find, as you descend toward the water, there's a joyful rush. You're feeling your fear while you're in the action of conquering it. And as you continue in action, the fear dissolves like a grain of salt in the river. What remains for you is pure joy. It's the joy of being someone you are not. Don't go through your life denying yourself this joy. Each time you feel it, you will have strengthened yourself. The irony for this in the victim is that the victim tries to enhance his life by avoiding problems, even though problem solving is the source of a long and happy life. Victims spend their days trying to find a hassle-free existence. They want security above all things. They want a comfortable life. They don't want to have to think about it. They especially want to have an easy time of it intellectually. Many victims say, upon leaving high school or college or whatever their last level of education, I'm never going to open another book again in my life. They slam their books down with a wicked gleam in their eyes as they set out for a life of mindless comfort. They've had it with challenging the mind. They just want to watch TV the rest of their lives. Let their favorite football team live for them. Let the cast of Seinfeld come up with clever solutions to life's problems for them. Let Peter Jennings, in his sophisticated, cynical way, explain why nothing they do makes a difference anyway. The things that victims avoid the most, problems, are the very things that give us life. Find something you've been avoiding. A creditor to communicate with, a relative to make an apology to, a person at work you've been meaning to have a heart-to-heart meeting with, then do it. Go straight at it. Jump in the deep river like Butch and Sundance without a huge amount of worrying ahead of time. After you've felt the joy that comes with such an action, vow to go straight at something else tomorrow. Soon you'll come to enjoy and respect the person you're inventing. One of the real problems in our society today is the word problem. We've invested so many decades of fear and loathing into that word, it's now become very hard to even think about our problems rationally. So much negative weight has been given to the word problem that we now use it as the ultimate word to describe people whose lives are really messed up. How's John doing? Not so well. Really? Yeah, he's got problems. That's too bad. He was really a nice guy. By demonizing the word problem, we've hurt ourselves. We have robbed ourselves of one of life's greatest joys, problem solving. In fact, problem solving is such a joy that companies have to remove it from their office computers. Most companies have taken the computer games off the systems in the office because they're so addictive that employees do nothing but play them. And these games are just problems in disguise. We enjoy the problem of how to take the Mario Brothers to another level because we call it a game. We enjoy solving the computer game Myst more than our own life's identical journey because we think of Myst as a game. The truth is, problems are always potentially fun. They are always an adventure in disguise. And they will be that way unless we add fear into the equation, unless we take them down the ladder, unless we personalize them. For example, why is it that we love other people's problems? Surely not because we like other people to be in distress, but rather because we love problems, period. And when they are other people's, we have no fear. Once we take away the fear, we can joyfully jump into the problems. That's why we like mysteries, computer games, etc. If a friend comes over because he has a problem and he wants my advice, I secretly enjoy the experience. Voltaire said that no problem could withstand the assault of sustained thinking. And he was right. No problem can. In my workshops on problem solving, when I present Voltaire's declaration that no problem can withstand the assault of sustained thinking, I like to ask the participants if they disagree with the quote. No one ever disagrees because no one has ever checked it out. We don't know what it's like to bring sustained thinking to our problems. We do know what it's like to bring avoidance based on uncomfortable feelings. If a difficult situation can withstand the assault of sustained thinking, then it's probably not a problem. Remember, a strong ownership position is, if there's no solution, there's no problem. If there's no solution, what we're dealing with is a fact of life that we haven't yet accepted. Every problem has a solution, whether we can see it yet or not. And every solution requires a problem. Solutions are fun, but to get one, you need a problem. So what's wrong with problems? The problem with problems is our use of the word. Because the word problem triggers such a negative shock to our system, the automatic response to it is, I don't want to think about it. So we call in a consultant. We call in a counselor or a therapist. The only reason consultants are so good is because they enjoy the fact that we have a problem. Because they enjoy it, they can bring enthusiasm and sustained thinking to the problem. And no problem can withstand the assault of sustained thinking. When someone tells me he needs to talk to me because it seems we've got a problem, I immediately sink down into the pit of my stomach. I feel little butterflies. I'm no longer thinking, I'm now worrying. Worry is a misuse of the imagination. Worrying is not thinking. It mimics thinking, but it never accomplishes what thinking accomplishes. No one has ever worried a solution into existence. To find a solution, we have to get to a level higher up than worrying. Albert Einstein saw this clearly when he said, the significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. Joy comes when we are not ourselves. Therefore, to really experience joy, we have to do something we weren't expecting to do. We have to expand who we are and become someone we had not been. Kids know where to go to get that feeling of joy. They're constantly trying to do things they've never done. The famous cry of, "Look, Mom, no hands," is a cry of joy. Because the child wasn't satisfied with just riding the bike, the child tries riding it with hands up in the air, and the thrill is right there. There's no more joyful cry than when you hear a child yelling, "I did it, I did it." It's doing things that brings a child joy. As grown-ups, we've forgotten that. We somehow think that it's feeling things that will lead us to our happiness. We've lost touch with what we once knew. We've disconnected from the Spirit. As grown-ups, we actually program the possibility for joy out of our lives by constantly seeking a hassle-free existence. We want to find a comfort zone. We're constantly